another element of the vision is to promote training and kind of dissemination of best practices and of this work that we're doing. And I know we've even spoken to some of you here today who are interested in implementing kind of being able to implement GNO in a fashion that is kind of meaningful to you and your community. And we see that as something we'd like to expand and like to continue. As Renee mentioned this morning, we have our manual that's in the sort of preparation stages for publication, and would envision that happening hopefully very soon. But also to go along with that, trainings for folks on how to implement GNO where they are in ways that kind of are true to the core components of those curriculum components we talked about, as well as the evidence-based strategies that we talked about this morning, and helping people do that across the country or across the continent. And so we appreciate opportunities like this to share the work that we're doing with you, and are always looking for opportunities to collaborate and help take this farther than where we are in Kansas. And also that we want to continue kind of actively involving our wonderful volunteers and the trainees that are a part of the programming that we're doing. Couldn't do the work that we do without them. And also making sure that the training that they're getting, they're able to carry forward into the work that they're doing in other settings. And then we talked a bit about this earlier, but also really wanting to enhance kind of the inclusive practices that are happening within our community. So we talked a bit about the community partners that often serve as our hosts or consultants or kind of co-leaders of groups to share expertise or to share space or to share resources with us. And we see those growing as more than just a sharing of time and space and talent, but also cultivating together places in our community that are supportive and where providers feel like they have capacity to better understand and better support these women that are coming into their offices. And so we think about that not just from a business standpoint in restaurants or salons or things like that, but also mental health care providers, more physical health and medical providers, and understanding perhaps perspectives and ways to be supportive of people of all abilities in the work that they're doing. Because I think, as Dr. Bailey referenced earlier, there's really sort of a dearth of people that feel comfortable maybe providing this service and taking care of this particular community. And it's really a matter of increasing kind of education and supports for those folks as well to be best serving everyone who comes into their office.
And that, part of the strategic plan that we are referencing, or we're actually submitting in about a week or so, a proposal to a healthcare foundation within our community, we've identified objectives to do that, to build capacity. I know that I was talking with someone earlier today about the needs for mental health providers for adults. We hear the same things from our self-advocate organization, like this is one of their #1 priorities. And so we want to identify providers in the community that might really already have a lot of the strategies related to cognitive behavioral therapy or, working anxiety, depression, those common things we see, and then train people who would say, yes, let me build capacity and being able to serve individuals with autism or other types of neurodevelopmental disorders. And then when we think about we talked about the medical providers, so part of those objectives would be thinking about training GYNs to be, aware of the types of supports or ways to approach some of those difficult things for all women who are going through those types of services. So it's building capacity to serve everyone.
At our center, we have some collaborating, some other psychologists who are also working to develop some partnerships with some of our local community mental health centers, which are sort of the kind of every county in our state of Kansas has a mental health center that provides, free or sliding fee scale supports for mental health to anyone in the community who needs them. And we've found that there's a real need for those providers to better understand perhaps supports and ways to kind of those best practices around supporting people with developmental disabilities. And so our colleague has been collaborating with them and also with our kind of acute psychiatric care facility to better help them recognize and identify those areas for support as well. So that's just kind of one example of how that's already started at our center and that we could see kind of continuing to develop.
And she surveyed providers to say, who do you see now, what types of individuals, and then would you be willing to see more individuals with autism? And then based on that, then that would be a model for going out and doing some of that training. So you can see that we have this big vision. I was talking to someone, maybe it was Vicki earlier, about I think big, and Jess brings me down to reality, and sometimes tries to, I would say, partner smart, more organized. But I just think that if you start with the vision for what is the ultimate thing that we want to do, what's going to make the biggest impact, and then work to, well, what do we need to achieve that, and let's ask for it. You don't get in life what you don't ask for. And so I think that we should think about putting our best foot forward, but I think that it's thinking a little bit differently about all the information that we have. When we think about the topic in the last 2 days and the prevalence. So it's not just people we're missing, it's not just why, but today this is what we have. And how does that impact the girls and women that we work with? And then how, what do we know about what we would expect that trajectory to be and what would get in the way? And then how can we be strategic about putting those plans and interventions in place? So we really, this overall social emotional health is a larger outcome for the vision that we want to have, including the inclusive communities, and just trying to think about innovative practices and make a difference and learn from everyone along the way, and keeping the people, our families, our girls and women involved in all those decisions. I want to convey that is a large part of what we do, and that's a large part about what this drives.